To our amazing viewers at Betrayal Stories Lab, welcome and thank you for your presence. Makes these stories worth sharing. We'd love to hear which part of the world you are joining us from. Let us know now in the comment. Let's dive into today's story. Chapter 1, Friday. For 42 p.m., 29 missed calls. All from her. Stephanie's name blinked like a ghost on Marcus's cracked phone screen. The same Stephanie who stood across from him in court that morning and called him a danger to their children. The same woman who used fake therapy reports and hollowed-out lies to steal custody of Ava and Jordan right from under him. His thumb hovered over the screen. Not to answer. Just to feel the weight of it. He didn't answer any of those calls. Not yet. He just sat there, slumped on the floor of his one-bedroom apartment, uniform still dirty from his 36-hour shift, the sound of kids playing outside like a mockery. His kids weren't there. They were with her. With Greg, the stepdad, who showed up 2 years ago with a Rolex smile and secrets hidden behind his manicured hands. And the court bought it. All of it. The judge had looked Marcus in the eye that morning, really looked, and still ruled against him. Supervised visitation, he'd said. Like Marcus was some kind of threat. Like he hadn't pulled 2 bodies out of a flood last week and resuscitated both. But none of that mattered in court. Not against a team of lawyers and lies with printouts. His hand trembled as he scrolled back through the calls. 1:07 p.m., 1:15 p.m., 1:22 p.m. Each timestamp dug deeper. What the hell changed since the verdict? Then came the voicemail. Just one. He tapped it. Stephanie's voice spilled out. Broken. Breathless. Marcus, please, call me. Something happened. You need to know, Greg, I'm so sorry. Click. Marcus's eyes narrowed. That's when he stood up, slowly, like something inside him was shifting shape. Now we play by my rules. Before we move ahead, I just want to say, your support truly means everything. We're building something special here, and our next big goal is reaching 2,000 incredible subscribers. If you're feeling the emotions in these stories, imagine what's still to come. Subscribe now, be part of this amazing journey, and let's keep growing together. Your one click can make a real difference. Let's continue the story. That morning, courtroom 3B smelled like old wood and fake justice. Marcus sat straight-backed, dressed in his only suit, navy, slightly loose at the shoulders. He'd shaved, polished his shoes, practiced what to say. Didn't matter. Stephanie entered with Greg at her side, perfectly curated in a gray blazer, holding a binder thick with lies. Marcus caught Greg smirking before court was even in session. He knew. The judge glanced at the case file like it was a lunch menu. Marcus's heart thudded, steady at first, then faster as Stephanie's lawyer stood. Your Honor, our client has been deeply concerned for the safety and mental well-being of her children. Her ex-husband, Mr. Taylor, has exhibited erratic behavior, including disappearing for entire weekends without contact. We have statements from Ava's school counselor, as well as documented inconsistencies in his visitation logs. Lies. Marcus opened his mouth to object. Kira, his legal aide, young and overworked, whispered, "Let it play. We'll respond in turn." But they didn't get a turn. Greg passed a manila folder to Stephanie's lawyer, printouts of text messages. Marcus recognized none of them. A forged thread read, Marcus, you keep pushing and I'll disappear with the kids. You'll never see them again. He almost laughed. But no one else did. The judge leaned back. Until this can be resolved, I'm awarding full temporary custody to Ms. Lauren. Mr. Taylor, you'll receive supervised visitation, beginning next week. The words echoed. Everything after was static. Stephanie didn't look at him. She hugged Greg. The lawyer nodded like it was over. Marcus didn't speak, didn't blink, didn't breathe. But in his mind, something was burning, slow, deliberate, and irreversible. Not rage. Resolve. That night, Marcus sat on the edge of his twin bed, the one Ava used to jump on every Saturday morning. Her drawings still hung on the fridge. Jordan's toy fire truck lay tipped on its side near the couch. And the silence was unbearable. He replayed the voicemail again. Stephanie's voice cracked. That wasn't courtroom Stephanie. Sharp, rehearsed, fake. This was the real one. Scared. Panicked. Something went wrong. He stared at his hands. Calloused. shaking. How many people had he saved with these hands? Fires, car wrecks, OD cases. But he couldn't save his own family from a system that never saw him. His phone buzzed. Again, another call from her. Declined. Instead, he opened Ava's birthday video, the one from 6 months ago. She was turning 8. Laughing as she blew out candles. Stephanie filmed. Greg's voice was heard. But this time, Marcus listened closely. The last few seconds, Stephanie, off camera, whispering, "One more court date, and he's gone. We're almost there." His stomach turned cold. He scrubbed back. Replayed it. Paused. Amplified. "We're almost there." He felt something crack in his chest, not grief, not fury. A realization. This wasn't sudden. She'd been planning this for months. The kids weren't just taken. They were stolen. And Marcus had spent too many years being the quiet one, the calm one, the forgiving one. Now he'd become the man she thought she'd broken. Only this time, she'd regret ever teaching him how to fight. Sunday, 2:16 a.m. Marcus couldn't sleep. The whisper from that birthday video repeated in his head like a curse. One more court date, and he's gone. We're almost there. He sat in the dark, headphones on, volume turned to max, dissecting every frame like a crime scene. Ava's laugh. The candles. Stephanie filming. Then Greg's hand comes into frame, casually placing a gift bag beside the cake. And then, just as Ava hugs her mom, the whisper. Marcus paused it. Again. Frame by frame, he studied the background reflection in the glass cupboard behind them. A blurry figure. Greg. Holding something. Wait. He zoomed in. A phone. The screen lit, recording. Why would Greg be filming when Stephanie was already recording? His paramedic instincts kicked in, details, patterns, timing. He synced the timestamp to his work logs. That night, Marcus was on duty, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. The birthday party was moved up without telling him. He only received leftover cake the next day. That wasn't just a whisper. It was a slip. Marcus opened his old Google Drive. Long forgotten. Synced years ago. A folder named AvaCam Backup. He'd given her an old tablet, years back. She used to record vlogs. He opened it. Hundreds of short clips. Mostly nonsense. Stuffed animals. Cartoons. But then, one labeled Basement Talk. Marcus's hand shook. He clicked play. Ava, whispering to the tablet camera, in near darkness. Mom says we don't talk about what Greg says in the basement. But I don't like when he's there. He smells like wine and tells Jordan secrets I don't get. Marcus's jaw clenched. The air turned ice cold. Stephanie hadn't just lied. She'd left the kids alone with him. He didn't cry. Didn't scream. He just stared, unmoving, as Ava's innocent voice played again. Her words simple. Childlike. But Marcus heard everything between the lines. Greg wasn't just an arrogant prick. He was something else. Marcus snapped into motion. He downloaded the clip, backed it up in 3 places, uploaded it to an encrypted drive, and labeled the folder Evidence Do Not Touch. Then he started building a timeline. 6 months ago, Stephanie filed for modification of custody. 5 months ago, a forged school report appeared, alleging Marcus missed Ava's parent-teacher conference. 4 months ago, fake therapist introduced. 3 months ago, school counselor suddenly transferred. Last month, Greg attended Ava's school meetings as Marcus. It was clockwork, each step methodical, targeted. And Marcus had stayed silent through it all, believing it was just tension, co-parenting drama, power games. He'd underestimated how far she'd go. He pulled out his old notebook, started writing names, dates, locations. Then something clicked. Greg worked in real estate. Big money. Access to records, systems, people, and leverage. Marcus opened Ava's school portal. Greg was listed as emergency contact number 1. Not Stephanie. Not Marcus. Greg. That was illegal. Only legal guardians could be listed without authorization. He called the school's office. No answer. It was Sunday. So he wrote an email. Formal. Controlled. Subject. Urgent. Unauthorized records access and contact entry. He didn't accuse anyone. Not yet. He knew how the system worked. It needed evidence, not emotion. But in that moment, one thing became clear. Stephanie wasn't just trying to win custody. She was trying to erase him. Monday morning, 10:03 a.m. Marcus sat across from a new attorney. This one didn't have a clipboard. She had a presence. Kira Bennett. No nonsense. Former federal prosecutor. She listened. Didn't interrupt. Just watched him as he laid out every detail. The forged logs, the tablet recording, the whispers, the metadata trail. He finished with a quiet breath. I don't want revenge. I want them out of my kids' lives. Permanently. Kira nodded slowly. Good. Because revenge makes people sloppy. Justice, on the other hand, she pulled a yellow pad closer. Let's talk strategy. She began mapping everything like a general planning war. The court believes what's on paper. You're a single father, blue-collar, limited legal history. That worked against you. We flipped that. You're a decorated responder, clean record, and they fabricated evidence. Marcus nodded. Kira's voice sharpened. I'll need those files. The recordings. In full custody of your patients. We don't go in guns blazing. We build a case. Quiet. Smart. One lie at a time. Stephanie weaponized the system, Marcus said quietly. Kira smiled coldly. So we make the system bite back. Before leaving, Marcus handed her a flash drive. There's something else. My daughter recorded it. Might be nothing. Might be. Worse. Kira plugged it into her laptop. Ava's voice played. As the audio ended, Kira's face turned to stone. She says the basement. He goes down there drunk. With Jordan. Marcus nodded once. Kira stood. We file for an emergency hearing. Today. I'm calling a judge I trust. As Marcus stepped into the elevator, he glanced at his phone. Stephanie had stopped calling. Now she was waiting. And that was a mistake she'd regret. Marcus stood in the school parking lot with a paper in hand, a formal visitation schedule. Supervised. Twice a week. 1 hour. A stranger would sit nearby and decide if he was fit to hug his children. He checked his watch. 3:57 p.m. Then he saw them. Ava stepped out of the black Range Rover first, shoulders hunched, eyes scanning. Greg followed, wearing sunglasses and a self-satisfied smirk. Jordan trailed behind, clutching a tablet. Stay where you are, Greg barked, stepping forward. Supervisor has to arrive first. Marcus ignored him. His eyes were locked on Ava. Hey, baby girl, he called softly. Her eyes flicked up. There was a split second, hesitation, recognition. Then she ran. Full sprint. Straight into his arms. She wrapped around him like she'd been holding her breath for a week. I missed you so much, Daddy, she whispered, her voice cracked and small. Marcus held her tight, pressing his hand to the back of her head. I'm here. I've got you. The moment was broken by a sharp voice behind them. Sir, I need you to follow protocol. The visitation supervisor, clipboard in hand, business face on, stepped forward. Marcus nodded, gently loosening Ava from his arms. Of course. The next hour was awkward. Structured. Monitored. Marcus knelt with Jordan, who refused to look up from his tablet. Hey, champ. You doing okay? Jordan shrugged. Then quietly, under his breath, Greg said you didn't want to see us anymore. Marcus's heart clenched. That's not true, buddy. Not for 1 second. I never stopped wanting to see you. Jordan finally looked up. Then why aren't you home? Marcus swallowed hard. Looked to the supervisor. Then back to his son. Because sometimes grown-ups lie to win. But I promise you, I'm fighting. Every day. As the hour ended and Greg collected them like luggage, Ava turned at the last second. Her lips moved silently. Help us. Marcus didn't blink. I will. The office building was tucked between a payday loan shop and an old dentist clinic, its sign barely legible. Northview Counseling Associates. Marcus stepped inside. Dim fluorescent lights flickered overhead. A stale coffee smell lingered. No receptionist, just a laminated sign taped to a desk. Walk-ins by appointment only. He scanned the office door. Dr. Cheryl Vaughn, LCSW. That was the name Stephanie gave the court. Marcus knocked. No answer. He tried again. Still nothing. He turned the knob, unlocked. The room was empty, dust covered. A calendar on the wall still showed October. It was now February. He stepped inside cautiously. A single filing cabinet stood in the corner, locked. No client files visible. A stack of unopened mail lay on the desk, most stamped, "Return to sender." This place was a shell. He took out his phone and snapped photos of everything. The empty room, the outdated calendar, the dusty chair with no indentation. A therapist who hadn't worked in months? Or ever? His gut twisted. Then a noise. The door creaked open behind him. An elderly woman peeked in, squinting. "You looking for Cheryl?" she asked. Marcus turned. "Yes, ma'am." "Is she here?" The woman laughed, a dry, bitter sound. "Cheryl left town last summer. Broke her lease. Disappeared. Owed half the building rent. That office has been empty since August." Marcus blinked. "But she signed a sworn statement for court just last month." The woman frowned. "Not unless she's signing from a beach somewhere. Or a grave." Marcus froze. "Wait, she's dead. Died in October," she said bluntly. "Heart attack. Poor thing. You didn't know?" "No," Marcus said, voice low. "I didn't." He stepped outside into the wind, pulse racing. The court accepted testimony from a dead therapist. He dialed Kira. "We have a corpse signing documents now," he muttered. Kira didn't miss a beat. "Perfect. Fraud. Perjury. Tampering. We just hit the jackpot." Marcus stared through the windshield of his truck, eyes fixed on the sleek, glass-paneled real estate office across the street. Greg was inside, laughing, schmoozing, wearing tailored suits and grinning like he didn't have secrets rotting behind his teeth. Marcus waited. This wasn't impulsive. It was calculated. He had an appointment. Under a fake name, Alex Doyle. A first-time home buyer looking to expand into the suburbs. 10 minutes later, he walked in. The receptionist greeted him brightly. "Mr. Doyle." Marcus nodded. "Here to see Greg." Greg appeared with that familiar smugness. "Alex, right?" "Pleasure." They shook hands. Marcus resisted the urge to break his fingers. He followed Greg into a glass office, took a seat. "So," Greg began, opening a portfolio, "what are you looking for?" Marcus leaned forward slightly. "Something with a finished basement. Soundproof, ideally." Greg didn't flinch. "Well, that's rare in this area, but we can." Marcus cut him off. "Basements where no one can hear what's happening." "You know the type." Greg's eyes flicked up. That was the first crack in his smile. "I'm sorry," he said, voice tight. Marcus didn't blink. "I have a daughter. She records everything. Even things whispered. Even things in basements." Greg stood abruptly. "I think you've confused me with someone else." "No," Marcus said, standing too. "I know exactly who you are. And what you've done." Greg's jaw tightened. "Leave. Now. Or I'll call security." Marcus stepped close. "Please do. I'd love for someone to document how red your face turns when I say the word investigation." Greg didn't move. Marcus smiled coldly. "You picked the wrong family to mess with." Then he turned and walked out, slow, deliberate, and unafraid. Outside, he exhaled for the first time in hours. The next move wouldn't be a visit. It would be war. The storm outside mirrored the one inside Marcus's mind. Rain slammed against the apartment windows as he pulled out an old external hard drive from the back of his closet. Dust clung to it like dead skin. He plugged it into his laptop. A folder blinked to life. Insurance, all caps. He hadn't touched this drive since the divorce. Back then, it was just for backing up photos and emails. But one night, 2 years ago, Stephanie had left her laptop open. Marcus remembered glancing over. An open folder labeled Consultations. He'd copied it on instinct. A gut feeling. Now he clicked it open. Inside, PDFs, message logs, audio files. He clicked one. Stephanie's voice poured from the speakers. "If I lose custody, I lose leverage. Full custody, or I don't sign the refinance. Greg said he can tilt things if we handle it right." Marcus's blood ran cold. Another file. An email thread between Stephanie and a woman named R. Mallory. Subject line, school counselor access. The body, Let me know what you need me to say. I'll make it sound legit. Attached, a scanned fake letter. A behavioral evaluation of Jordan, dated months ago, from a name Marcus didn't recognize. He clicked through another folder. Bank transfers. A $2,500 deposit from Stephanie to GR Solutions LLC, Greg's shell company. Labeled Consulting. Marcus leaned back in his chair, breath shallow. This wasn't manipulation. This was organized fraud. He backed up everything, then emailed it to Kira with one line. We've got them. As the thunder cracked outside, Marcus stared at the screen, jaw set. They wanted to erase him. No? He'd erase every lie they ever told. Stephanie invited him over for dinner. Out of nowhere. Just to talk, she said. The kids need calm. Marcus agreed. But he wasn't coming to talk. He was coming to listen. He placed a small audio recorder in his coat lining, then drove to the condo, the one he helped pay for back when he was working double shifts and she was figuring herself out. She greeted him at the door in casual clothes, hair tied back, acting like they were civil exes, not enemies. Greg was already seated at the table. Wine poured. Smiling. Marcus sat. Dinner began with fake small talk. Stephanie asked about work. Greg cracked a joke about fire trucks and heroes. Marcus barely touched his food. Then Stephanie leaned in. Look, I know court was rough, but things are moving too fast. Maybe we should just slow down the tension. For the kids. Greg added, yeah, let's be adults. Marcus tilted his head. Adults who pay fake therapists to sign legal docs from beyond the grave? Greg choked on his drink. Stephanie froze. Marcus smiled faintly. Slowing down sounds great, but maybe let's start with the truth. Silence stretched. Then Greg snapped. You're blowing this way out of proportion. I'm recording this conversation, Marcus said calmly. Greg paled. Stephanie's fork clattered against her plate. You can't do that in this state. Marcus replied, eyes locked on hers. I absolutely can, especially if I'm protecting my kids. He stood, napkin falling onto the untouched plate. Thanks for dinner. At the door, he paused. Looked back. You know, you should have just left me with my dignity. But now that you took that too, I'll be taking everything back. He left them in silence. But behind him, the walls were finally starting to crack. Marcus waited 2 days before digging into Greg's digital trail. He had a friend at the firehouse, Ethan, a former cybercrime investigator turned EMT. Quiet, smart, trusted. They met in a parked ambulance behind the station. Ethan slid a laptop between them. You sure you want to go here? Marcus nodded. I'm past wanting. I need it. Ethan began. Greg's company, GR Solutions, is a joke. Registered in Delaware, 0 tax returns filed, and the offices are a P.O. box in Vegas. But here's the fun part. He opened a screen. Dropbox sync. Public folder. Stupid mistake. Greg had left a Dropbox folder public. Inside, video clips, photos, timestamped metadata. Ethan clicked a file. Marcus watched as a video played. Greg in Stephanie's car, holding a document. We just get the counselor to sign this version instead. Say it's a draft. Marcus's jaw clenched. Another file, photos of a birthday party. Taken during the time Marcus was supposed to have the kids. The metadata showed they were taken during his emergency flood response, the one he had a commendation for. They claimed he missed visitation, Ethan said. But he was saving lives. Ethan tapped the screen. You've got geolocation, date stamps, faces, signatures, and proof they falsified custody evidence. Marcus stared at the screen for a long time, then looked up. They played the system like a game. Ethan nodded. Yeah, but they didn't expect someone to know the rules better than they did. Marcus took the USB copy. I'm not going to court just to fight anymore. He stood. I'm going to win. Kira Bennett didn't do pleasantries. When Marcus walked into her office carrying a flash drive labeled, They Played God, she didn't ask how he was. She just pointed to a chair. Let's see what kind of mess we're dealing with. As the files loaded, she watched silently. Eyes sharp, movement still. One clip in, and she was already making notes. By the fourth, her jaw had tightened. I've tried custody fraud cases before, she said finally, but never this calculated. They didn't just lie, Marcus. They orchestrated a long con, fabricated timelines, faked witnesses, used state-level services to push you out of your own children's lives. She opened the Dropbox folder Ethan had cracked, played the audio of Greg discussing switching counselor versions. Her lips parted, just slightly. Idiots left fingerprints all over the gun, she muttered. Marcus leaned forward. Can we use this? We're not just going to use it, she replied. We're going to nail them to the wall with it. But first, we're going to make it airtight. Kira outlined the plan. Step 1. Compile every piece of fraud and present it in an emergency ex parte hearing. That would at least trigger a temporary hold on the current custody order. Step 2. Subpoena the real counselor who was replaced, if they even existed. If not, that was perjury. Step 3. Flip someone from Stephanie's side. A weak link. Someone paid off. Someone guilty enough to talk. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You think they'll crack? Oh, they'll fold, she said with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. They always do. Especially when they realize they're the ones being played next. It was Thursday, the second supervised visit. Marcus arrived 5 minutes early, nerves coiled tight. The court-appointed supervisor, a stiff woman named Denise, greeted him with a clipboard and robotic politeness. 1 hour. Same rules. Then came Ava. She walked in slow, head down, lips tight. Marcus knelt to meet her eye level. Hey there, sunshine. Ava looked up, eyes glassy. They sat at a table in the park. The wind cut sharp. Marcus had brought a blanket. Ava curled into it. For the first few minutes, they just talked about school, superficial, guarded, careful. Jordan sat nearby, drawing shapes in the dirt. The kind of silence that screamed louder than words. Then Ava reached into her hoodie pocket. She slid something small into Marcus's hand, a charm bracelet, the one he gave her 2 birthdays ago. Inside one of the hollow beads was folded paper, tiny as a breath. Marcus kept his expression neutral. Later, when alone, he carefully opened it. Greg gets mean when Mom's not home. He drinks from the red bottle. Jordan cries. Please don't tell them I told. His hands shook. He stared at the note, so long the words blurred. The visit ended with a hug so tight, he could barely let go. Denise called time. Just 1 more minute, he said softly, voice thick. Denise checked her watch. Said nothing. Ava whispered in his ear before stepping away. I believe you, Daddy. The dam behind Marcus's ribs cracked. She didn't just believe in him. She was asking him to fight. Back in Kira's office, the walls were now covered in whiteboards and timelines. Every false statement, every conflicting date, every forged signature had its own colored thread. It looked less like a law office and more like a war room. Here's the play, Kira said. We file an emergency motion with a judge who doesn't owe favors to Greg's country club friends. We present our affidavit, the forged therapist testimony, the Dropbox evidence, and Ava's note. Marcus stiffened. Will Ava have to testify? Kira shook her head. Not yet, but she might. And if she does, she'll be protected. Next step, they tracked down the school's former counselor, Mrs. Raina Collis, who had suddenly transferred 3 months ago. They found her 2 towns over, now working at a private charter school. When she opened the door and saw Marcus and Kira standing there, she tensed. I figured someone would come eventually, she said, voice low. Inside her small kitchen, she admitted everything. I was pressured to write up a behavioral concern report on Ava, but I wouldn't do it. Stephanie showed up twice, alone the first time. The second time, Greg came. He threatened to sue the school if we didn't act. Then what? Kira asked. I reported it to the district, but nothing happened. 2 weeks later, I was reassigned. Marcus stared at the floor, rage boiling beneath calm. Kira pulled out a legal pad. Would you sign a formal affidavit? Raina hesitated, then nodded. Yes. I'm tired of watching people like that get away with it. As they walked back to the car, Kira turned to Marcus. We just found our keystone witness. Marcus exhaled slowly. 1 lie at a time, their empire was crumbling. And he was going to bring it all down. It was a name Marcus barely remembered, Cheryl Banks, concerned neighbor who'd claimed in court that she'd seen Marcus yelling violently on the front lawn. A complete fabrication. Back then, he hadn't even known who she was. Now he did. She lived 2 blocks from Stephanie's condo, not their old house. Marcus had never met her until that day in court, and her testimony had helped tip the judge. Kira tracked her down. They waited in Marcus's truck outside a rundown townhouse complex, watching Cheryl emerge in a worn pink robe, holding a vape pen and mail. "Stay in the truck," Kira said. She stepped out alone, walked calmly up the sidewalk, and introduced herself. Marcus couldn't hear what was said, but he saw Cheryl's expression change. Defensive, then confused, then nervous. Kira handed her a business card. Cheryl paused, looked around. 10 minutes later, she opened the front door wide and waved them in. Inside, the apartment was cluttered and stale. Bills stacked on the coffee table. A bottle of vodka half hidden under a magazine. Cheryl folded her arms. "I didn't know what I was getting into, okay? Stephanie said it was just a statement. No big deal. Paid me $500. Told me what to say." Kira's tone was ice. "You committed perjury." "I thought it was a civil case," Cheryl said. She said no one would check. Marcus finally spoke. "You helped her take my kids." That landed like a slap. Cheryl's voice dropped. "I didn't know it'd go that far. I swear. I just needed the money. I didn't know about the kids." Kira leaned in. "Then sign a statement. Tell the court what really happened. Clear his name. Or we file criminal charges against you and let the DA do the rest." Cheryl stared at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Give me a pen." Kira's legal wall grew with every lie peeled back. And now, for the first time, Marcus began to see the bigger picture. This wasn't just about custody. It was about control. Stephanie's manipulation hadn't started with lawyers or therapists. It started years ago, in the kitchen, in their bedroom, in small moments Marcus had dismissed as stress, or friction, or bad days. Now, each one returned with perfect clarity. He remembered the way she used to change the subject anytime he wanted to talk about parenting schedules. The way she lost his messages when he asked about school events. The way she cried and turned arguments into guilt trips until he was the one apologizing. And it had escalated. After the divorce, she told Ava not to call him after 8 p.m. "He's tired. Sweetie," she'd say. "He's working so hard. We don't want to bother him." He believed that. Until Ava stopped calling at all. When he asked Stephanie why, she just said, "They're growing up. Don't take it personally." Even Greg, in his smug way, had slowly become the family's new center of gravity. Coaches emailed him. Teachers included his name in school notices. Ava came home once talking about Dad Greg, and when Marcus confronted Stephanie, she said, "Maybe you're not around enough." Everything had been intentional. Now, standing in Kira's office staring at the web of names, photos, lies, he realized what had really happened. Stephanie didn't want shared custody. She wanted to rewrite history. Erase him. Turn their children into props in a play where she was the sainted mother and he, the absent burden. A role she'd written for him without his permission. But now, he was done playing the part she wrote. Now, he was writing the ending. The sun was setting when Marcus and Kira walked into the courthouse, a thick manila envelope tucked under Kira's arm. Inside, every piece of the puzzle. The Dropbox files. The video metadata. Ava's handwritten note. The paid witness affidavit. And, at the center, the statement from Raina Callis, the school counselor who had refused to lie. Their emergency hearing had been approved, quietly. No press. No warning. Inside, the courtroom was nearly empty. The judge, Honorable Maya Reddick, was known for being no-nonsense, sharp-eyed, and incorruptible. Kira stood and began her case. "Your Honor, we are filing for immediate reversal of the current custody arrangement based on concrete evidence of deliberate fraud, witness tampering, and perjury committed by Ms. Stephanie Lauren and Mr. Gregory Reese. We are also requesting an emergency injunction to remove both from the children's daily lives until a full investigation is complete." She didn't waste time. She played the Greg audio. "We just get the counselor to sign this version instead. Say it's a draft." She presented Cheryl Banks' written confession, now notarized. Then came Raina's sworn statement, calm, precise, and damning. The judge raised an eyebrow. So the original school counselor refused to fabricate behavioral issues and was reassigned afterward? Yes, Your Honor, Kira confirmed. Finally, she placed Ava's note on the table. Your Honor, this is a handwritten plea from a minor, passed during a supervised visit, describing Greg's behavior in the home. This is not just about custody anymore. This is about safety. The judge took a long moment, then leaned forward. I'm placing an immediate hold on all contact between the children and Mr. Reese. I want full investigation reports from Child Services within 72 hours. She looked directly at Marcus. You'll be granted temporary custody until the next formal hearing. Marcus blinked. Temporary. For now, Judge Reddick said. But if half of this holds up? Her voice dropped. They'll be lucky to walk out of this free. Sunday morning. 6:44 a.m. Marcus sat in his truck, parked 2 blocks from Greg and Stephanie's condo, sipping black coffee that had long gone cold. Across from him, in an unmarked sedan, was Donnie Miles, Kira's private investigator. Donnie was ex-military, all angles and shadows, and he didn't talk unless it mattered. That's why Kira trusted him. At exactly 7:01 a.m., Stephanie's front door opened. Donnie lifted a camera. Greg stepped out wearing joggers and sunglasses, carrying a folder. Marcus leaned forward. That's not a gym bag. Donnie zoomed in. Too stiff. Flat edge. Could be documents. They watched as Greg slid into his silver Tesla and pulled away. Donnie followed with surgical distance. Marcus stayed behind. Waited. 10 minutes later, Stephanie emerged. No makeup. No smile. Talking on the phone, her voice muffled but agitated. She paced the driveway, gesturing. Marcus couldn't hear her words, but her body language screamed. She was unraveling. That afternoon, Donnie returned with footage and a location, a gated house in Westchester, registered to Leonard Fry, a retired district board official. He used to oversee school compliance reports. Kira's voice was sharp when she heard the name. Fry's the one who signed off on Stephanie's complaint against the counselor last fall. Marcus's stomach turned. They bribed him too. Donnie nodded. More like exchanged favors. Fry lost his pension in a quiet settlement 2 years ago. Greg's company helped restructure his assets. Kira muttered, "We need him to talk. Or at least flinch." Marcus stared at the screen as Greg shook hands with Fry on video. "They're not scared yet," he said. Kira's eyes narrowed. "Then let's give them a reason to be." That evening, Kira introduced a new weapon into the arsenal. It wasn't a recording, not a document, not even a witness. It was a legal term Marcus had never heard before, parental alienation. She explained it while pacing in front of her whiteboard. It's when one parent psychologically manipulates a child into fearing, disrespecting, or rejecting the other parent. Judges used to ignore it. Now, they treat it like abuse. Marcus processed it slowly. "You think they've done that to Ava and Jordan?" "I don't think," Kira said. "I know." She pulled out a psychological report compiled by an independent therapist they'd arranged, based only on Ava's and Jordan's statements during supervised visits. It outlined specific red flags, Ava being told her dad abandoned them, Jordan saying Marcus was dangerous without being able to explain why. Both children showing relief in private but discomfort in public settings. Kira slid it across the table. It's textbook alienation. It's also reversible, with the right steps and court recognition. Marcus ran his fingers through his hair. She turned them against me slowly, one lie at a time. Kira looked up. And now we turn it around. But the next hearing? We go in aggressive. We show the court the why behind every fake document, every twisted story. She wasn't just trying to win. She was trying to erase me, Marcus said quietly. Kira nodded. And we're going to show the court what it costs a child to be weaponized. She handed Marcus a packet. "What's this?" he asked. "A declaration. From you. Not just facts. Your voice. The father who didn't give up. The man who chose to fight back the right way." Marcus stared at the paper. It wasn't just evidence anymore. It was war for their minds. The evening was quiet, too quiet, as Marcus sat alone, scrolling through Ava's old tablet. The cloud sync hadn't been touched in weeks. Then, by accident, he tapped into a hidden app folder, Kids Note, a journaling app they'd used once for school updates. Stephanie had uninstalled it, but it had auto backup enabled. He clicked. Inside were dozens of short voice memos, some nonsense, some bedtime stories. Then, one was different. Titled simply, Door. Marcus tapped play. Ava's voice, hushed, scared. Jordan's locked in the basement. Mom said not to go. Greg's yelling. I'm recording because I don't know what else to do. The audio cut in and out. Sounds of faint crying, a thump, and Greg's slurred voice. Stop banging. Stay down there until you calm the hell down. Marcus's blood went cold. He hit rewind. Listened again. And again. This wasn't evidence anymore. This was proof of danger. He immediately forwarded the file to Kira. She called within seconds. Marcus, listen to me. Don't confront them. We take this to Child Protective Services. Tonight. No delays. I'll meet you at the office in 20. Marcus closed the tablet, his hands visibly shaking. This wasn't about strategy now. Not about timelines or court tricks. This was about protecting his children. Greg had locked his son in a basement, and Stephanie allowed it. As Marcus grabbed his keys, a new thought formed. The kind that didn't come with fear. The kind that came with clarity. Tomorrow, he whispered to himself, the world finds out who they really are. The CPS office smelled like old coffee and paper stress. Marcus sat at the edge of his seat, barely breathing as Officer Delgado, a case investigator with a calm voice and sharp eyes, replayed Ava's voice memo. When the screen played through the tiny speaker, the room fell silent. Delgado paused the recording. How long has this been going on? Marcus's throat tightened. I don't know. That's the worst part. I don't know how long my son's been scared of the dark because of that man. Delgado nodded slowly. We'll be sending agents out tonight. They'll nod politely the first time. After that, we get the court involved. Kira sat beside Marcus, stone-faced. I'll draft a formal emergency petition. We're demanding immediate protective custody. They don't get to hide behind money anymore. But Marcus wasn't hearing her. He was staring out the window. Because deep inside, he was breaking. Not from fear. That came and went. Not from rage. That had hardened into resolve. It was the helplessness. The knowledge that for months, his children had been used, twisted, lied to, and hurt. And all he could do was wait for systems to catch up. He stood suddenly. I need air. Outside, the cold wind hit like a slap. He walked to his truck, gripped the wheel until his knuckles went white. Then he screamed. Not words. Just pain. Raw, hoarse, broken. And when it was done, he exhaled, long and slow. Then he whispered, no more. He got back out, walked straight back inside, looked Kira in the eyes. Burn it all. I don't want them scared another day. 3 days later, it was official. March 7th. The court hearing that could change everything. Marcus stood in Kira's office while she paced, rehearsing. We open with a voice memo. Then we bring up parental alienation, the therapist's forged affidavit, Cheryl's confession, and the Dropbox data. After that, we drop the nuclear option. Marcus frowned. What nuclear option? Kira smirked. A live testimony. From Ava. If we need it. His heart stopped. You said she wouldn't. I know, she said gently. And we'll try not to. But if the judge stalls, if Stephanie starts spinning, Ava's voice might be the only thing powerful enough to break through. Marcus sat down, shoulders heavy. She's just a kid. She's a brave one, Kira replied. And she believes in you. That's what'll keep her strong if it comes to it. Marcus didn't sleep that night. He walked through his apartment, staring at toys that hadn't been touched in months. A half-finished Lego build. Jordan's favorite fire truck, sitting like a forgotten soldier on the shelf. He opened the fridge and found Ava's juice box from the last visit. He couldn't throw it away. It was still hers. It would always be hers. And now, for the first time in months, there was a date. A line in the sand. An end, or a beginning. He stared at the wall clock. Watched the second hand tick forward. Every second brought him closer. Every second took something back. He whispered the date to himself like a prayer. March 7th. Stephanie walked into the lawyer's office with confidence radiating from her expensive heels to her overly tailored blazer. Greg followed behind, face smug, mouth curled like a man who still believed he'd already won. Her lawyer, Robert Hale, sat waiting, gray-haired, expensive, and exhausted. Stephanie tossed her coat over the chair. Let's get this over with. We've got the kids this weekend, and I need to schedule haircuts. Hale didn't smile. He folded his hands. We have a problem. Greg chuckled. Don't we always? Hale didn't move. Just placed a printed email on the table. Stephanie glanced at it. Her face drained of color. Exhibit submission. Audio recordings. Falsified evidence. Child endangerment claim. Witness affidavits. Stephanie's voice cracked. Where did they get this? They had a private investigator. Hale replied flatly. They have witnesses. Signatures. Timestamp data. There's no denying it. Greg leaned forward. So what? We hit back. Attack Marcus's emotional state. Use Ava's anxiety angle. Hale cut him off. Greg, shut up. The room froze. Hale turned to Stephanie. I'm asking you this only once, and as your attorney, did you falsify any reports? Stephanie looked like a cornered animal. I didn't write them. I just gave them what I was told. You knowingly submitted false testimony, Hale said coldly. You perjured yourself. That's a felony. Stephanie stood. They won't do anything. Judges side with mothers. Hale stood too. Not when the mother locks her son in a basement. Silence. Greg swore under his breath. This is getting out of hand. Hale grabbed his briefcase. It's already out of hand. They're coming for both of you. Stephanie's voice cracked. What do we do now? He looked at her. For once, without pity. You pray the judge lets you keep your name. It started just past midnight. Marcus's phone buzzed once. Then again. By 12:47 a.m., the screen read, 29 missed calls. All from Stephanie. He stared at it like it was poison. Then the first voicemail played. Marcus, please pick up. Greg's gone. He took the car. I think he took something else. I can't find Jordan. I can't find Click. The next one was worse. I checked everywhere. Marcus, please. He's not in his bed. I think Greg took him. I think he God, what have I done? Marcus jumped to his feet. Called Kira. No answer. He didn't wait. He threw on a jacket, keys in hand, and hit the road like fire. Every second on the freeway felt like an eternity. The GPS blinked. 12 minutes. At 1:11 a.m., he reached the condo. Lights on. Front door wide open. Stephanie was on the floor, sobbing. Makeup smeared. Hair tangled. She didn't even look up when he entered. I didn't know, she kept repeating. I didn't know. Marcus stormed past her. Where's Ava? She's in her room. Lock the door. I haven't heard her since. He pounded once. Ava, it's me. Open up. Click. The door opened. Ava stood pale, silent, trembling. Marcus dropped to his knees and wrapped her up. I'm here. I've got you. Behind him, Stephanie's sobs turned into gasps. Then she whispered the sentence that flipped Marcus's entire world. He left a note. Marcus, I think Greg's not just gone. I think he's been taking photos. Of them. For months. Marcus sat on the edge of the living room couch as Stephanie handed him Greg's old laptop. It was unlocked. Greg had left in a rush. Power cord still trailing like a snake. I haven't opened it, she whispered. I couldn't. Kira arrived 20 minutes later, sleep still in her eyes, legal pad under her arm. They opened the laptop together. Standard desktop. Nothing strange. Until Marcus clicked into the recycling bin. A deleted folder labeled Home Library. Inside, subfolders named by date. Some went back 2 years. They opened one. Then another. Then another. Dozens of photos. Ava. Jordan. Sometimes in the backyard. Sometimes asleep. Some from angles that made Marcus's stomach churn. Some from inside the bathroom doorway. Kira closed the lid. This is no longer a custody case. This is a criminal investigation. Stephanie was sitting in the kitchen, head buried in her arms. He told me they were backups. Family moments. Kira snapped. You didn't think it was strange he hid them in deleted folders. Stephanie said nothing. Kira called the police. Marcus stood and walked into Ava's room. She was awake, curled up in a ball. Silent. He sat beside her. I'm here now. No more secrets. You don't have to protect anyone. Ava whispered something so quiet he barely caught it. He said, if I told anyone, you'd go away forever. Marcus shut his eyes. Greg hadn't just taken photos. He'd been terrorizing her. By dawn, the entire street was lit red and blue. 2 patrol cars. 1 unmarked vehicle. A digital forensics van parked halfway on the sidewalk. Officers stormed through the condo with measured urgency. Kira stood on the porch speaking to the lead detective. Stephanie sat on the front step, hands cuffed. Not arrested, just detained for questioning. But the neighbors were watching. Cameras out. Phones recording. Inside, Marcus held Ava and Jordan. Jordan had been found asleep in the guest bedroom at Greg's friend's place, safely retrieved by responding officers. But shaken. Quiet. Ava hadn't let go of Marcus's shirt in 2 hours. The detectives found more. Hard drives. Flash drives. Even printed photos stuffed into an old briefcase hidden in the HVAC vent. Kira paced the living room, voice clipped. They're going to charge him. Multiple counts. Child exploitation. Illegal surveillance. Possibly more. Marcus looked toward the door. Where is he? Gone, said one of the officers. No activity on cards. No phone ping. He planned this exit. Stephanie sobbed again. I didn't know, Kira turned sharply. You may not have taken the pictures, but you let a predator in your house. You chose to side with him over your children. That ends now. Marcus didn't say anything. He couldn't. He just sat beside Ava and Jordan, holding them, as the truth burned everything else down. Greg was gone. But the damage he left behind? That was still here. And now, Marcus wasn't just fighting for custody anymore. He was fighting for their souls. The morning after the raid, Marcus opened the blinds to see a wall of reporters outside his apartment. Cameras. Microphones. Flashbulbs popping like gunfire. They weren't after him. They were after the story. Someone had leaked the truth. Wealthy real estate agent vanishes amid child exploitation allegations. The headlines wrote themselves. Stephanie's name was included. The custody battle was public, now viral. Kira called early. They know. And they're circling. Marcus glanced at Ava curled up on the couch, still in her pajamas, clutching a stuffed bear. Jordan was drawing quietly at the table. The television stayed off. The curtain stayed drawn. Can we keep them out of it? Marcus asked. I'll file a gag order by noon, Kira replied. But people talk. They're friends, they're teachers. This is going to spread. Stephanie, meanwhile, was being questioned at a separate facility. Her lawyer had gone silent. Rumors were swirling that she'd tried to turn herself in, then retracted. That she was offering to testify if charges were dropped. She's going to try and play the victim now, Kira warned. Saying Greg manipulated her. That she didn't know what he was doing. Marcus's silence spoke louder than rage. He didn't care if Stephanie cried on camera or begged forgiveness. She let it happen. And now, everyone knew. He stepped outside for one moment, just one, to breathe. Microphones swarmed him. Mr. Taylor, did you know about the photos? What was your relationship with Greg Reese? Are your children safe now? He looked straight at the lenses. My children are safe now that they're with me. That's all that matters. Then he walked back inside and locked the door. Later that evening, Kira made a suggestion Marcus wasn't expecting. You should speak publicly. He blinked. Excuse me. Not for the cameras, she said. For the court of public opinion. People are already forming their own narrative, confused, biased, misled by headlines. You don't need to tell them everything. Just your truth. What they've done to your family. Marcus shook his head. I'm not a performer. You're not, she agreed. You're a father. That's why they'll listen. At first, he resisted. He didn't want his kids exposed. He didn't want to give the media more fuel. But that night, Ava said something that changed his mind. Dad, they think Greg was our dad. He looked into her eyes. Scared. Ashamed. Confused. They keep asking me at school if If I was in those pictures, I don't even know what they mean. I just wanted to stop. That was it. The next morning, Marcus agreed to do one interview. One outlet. On his terms. They shot it at a small community center. No flashy lights. No makeup crew. Just a single camera, a quiet room, and Marcus in his Firehouse t-shirt, hands clasped tight. "I'm not here to shame anyone," he began. "I'm here to speak as a father. My children were taken from me under false pretenses. They were manipulated, isolated, and exposed to someone dangerous. And no one listened." He looked directly into the camera. "This system failed. But I didn't. I fought. And I'm still fighting, not for revenge. For healing. For truth." The interview aired that night. Within hours, it had 200,000 views. And for the first time since the nightmare began, the world started listening to Marcus. The judge's order came through quietly, just a few lines typed on official letterhead. Full temporary custody awarded to Marcus Taylor. Mother's visitation suspended pending psychological evaluation. Kira delivered it with no drama, just a small nod as she passed the document to him. "It's real. It's happening." Marcus stood in the doorway of his apartment as Ava and Jordan walked in with their backpacks, their real ones, not the little travel bags from supervised visits. Ava looked around, wide-eyed. "It's still the same." "It's yours," Marcus said softly. "Always has been." Jordan ran to his toy shelf, grabbed his old fire truck, and held it like gold. "Does this mean we don't have to go back there?" "No," Marcus said. "You're home now." They had pizza for dinner, the way they used to. Couch cushions turned into forts. Jordan fell asleep with crumbs on his shirt. Ava laid her head on Marcus's shoulder and whispered, "I miss the way the house smells." He kissed the top of her head. "I missed you." That night, Marcus watched them sleep in their own rooms again. No cameras. No tension. Just peace. He didn't cry. He couldn't. But he felt something deeper than tears, relief. And for the first time, the silence in the house wasn't empty. It was safe. Marcus stood over the bathroom sink, wiping shaving cream off his jaw, watching his reflection like he was studying a stranger. Ava's bracelet hung on the corner of the mirror. She'd left it there that morning, whispering, "Keep it safe." Like you kept us safe. His heart twisted. They were back under his roof, but the scars ran deeper than bruises. Jordan flinched at night noises. Ava froze when someone raised their voice, even if it was the TV. And Marcus, beneath the steady surface, carried his own invisible fractures. He booked them into a family therapist that Kira personally vetted. Her name was Dr. Leslie Monroe, calm eyes, no clipboard, a living room-style office with beanbags instead of chairs. "I don't ask children to relive pain," she told Marcus during their first session. "I ask them to name what still hurts." That's the difference. Marcus sat in the hallway while Ava and Jordan had their turn. He stared at the ticking wall clock, every second louder than the last. Later, Dr. Monroe invited him in. "They trust you," she said plainly. "Even when they don't have words for what happened, they're watching you to learn how to breathe again." Marcus nodded slowly. She leaned forward. "So what are you modeling? Survival? Or healing?" He didn't answer. Because truthfully, he didn't know yet. That night, he stood outside their bedroom door and listened to the quiet, the kind that wasn't tense or forced. Just still. He whispered into the dark, "I'll learn how to heal if it means they do." The interview Marcus had filmed, the simple one, no polish, had quietly gained momentum online. By Tuesday, it had over 3.1 million views. Then someone clipped a quote from the video and shared it on Twitter. "I wasn't just fighting for custody. I was fighting to be seen. Because a good father shouldn't have to become a warrior just to hold his child." The tweet exploded. Hashtags trended. Hashtag fathers deserve justice. Hashtag protective in Jordan. Hashtag find Gregory's. Media outlets began reaching out for follow-ups. Podcasts, talk shows, even national news. Kira called him mid-afternoon. "You're a face now," she said. "They want a symbol. You gave them truth. That's rare." Marcus stood in the grocery store cereal aisle when the notification hit his phone. Stephanie's full name and mugshot had been leaked. He opened the link. Her face stared back, pale, distant, not defiant anymore. The caption beneath it read, Mother accused of negligence in child exploitation case. He lowered the phone. The aisle blurred. Shoppers passed by, unaware that a storm had shifted around them. That night, his mailbox overflowed. Letters, cards, even drawings from other kids. One had shaky crayon lines and the words, "I hope your kids smile again." Marcus stood at the kitchen counter and read every one. Not out of pride, but because he finally understood the world wasn't ignoring fathers anymore. Not this time. Stephanie's plea deal was broadcast live on local news. She stood beside her attorney, hair tied back, voice trembling, reading from a pre-written statement. "I failed as a mother. I failed to protect my children. I placed my trust in someone who betrayed all of us, and I will carry that guilt for the rest of my life." The judge accepted the plea, but not without consequences. Stephanie was sentenced to 2 years of probation, community service, and court-mandated parenting rehabilitation. She lost all custodial rights and would only be considered for visitation after 2 full psychological evaluations at her own expense. Kira watched the hearing from Marcus's living room. "She got off light," she muttered. "But now she's branded. Every school, every medical form, every background check, her name's going to trigger a flag." Marcus said nothing. He watched the screen go dark, watched her step down in silence. There was no satisfaction in her fall, just a quiet knowing. The truth finally caught up. The only justice he cared about was Ava laughing again, Jordan sleeping through the night. The rest? Background noise. The next morning, Marcus made pancakes. Not from a box. Real ones, batter from scratch, blueberries Ava liked, little chocolate chips Jordan always picked out and ate first. The kids sat at the counter. Jordan asked, "Can we go to the park today?" "Yes," Marcus said, "but only if you help clean your room first." Ava smirked. "You drive a hard bargain." After breakfast, Marcus brought out a small hardcover journal. He placed it in front of them. "What's this?" Ava asked. "It's called The Open Book. You can write anything in it. Anything you're feeling. Questions, dreams, things you don't want to say out loud." Jordan tilted his head. "Can we draw, too?" "Absolutely." He looked at them both. "We'll read it together. Every week. 1 page at a time." They nodded. Then Ava leaned in and whispered, "You're different now." "How?" he asked, bracing. "You're lighter. Like you're here." Marcus swallowed. "I am." Then he whispered a promise he never got to say in court, or to the world, or even to himself. "I'll never let anyone make you feel small again." It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. But it was a pact, and it would hold. Saturday afternoon sunlight poured into Jordan's bedroom like a second chance. Marcus stood by the door, paint roller in hand, watching his son dip a brush into the tray and dab the wall in slow, careful strokes. "You missed a spot," Marcus said. Jordan grinned. "I'm making clouds." They'd picked the color together, sky blue, not baby blue. Jordan said it felt like breathing. The old posters were gone. So were the dark blackout curtains Stephanie insisted on. Now there were stars on the ceiling, shelves waiting for books. A new night light shaped like a rocket ship. "This room feels happy," Jordan said, out of nowhere. Marcus paused, then nodded. "That's the goal." They finished painting by dinner. Ava helped clean up, music playing from the kitchen. She danced while holding a broom, offbeat and fearless. For the first time in a long while, no one looked over their shoulders. That night, Jordan slept with the door open, something he hadn't done in months. And Marcus sat outside, on the floor in the hallway, just breathing. No headlines, no documents, no courtrooms, just blue walls and peace. Chapter 36. Stephanie's letter. It arrived on a Tuesday. A plain envelope. No return address. Handwritten. Slanted cursive. Marcus recognized the handwriting before he opened it. Stephanie. He almost tossed it. Almost. But then he sat on the edge of the bed and unfolded the single sheet of paper. "Marcus, I know you have no reason to believe anything I say anymore. And maybe this letter is more for me than for you. But I want you to know, I see it now. All of it. What I became. What I allowed. What I destroyed. I thought I was protecting myself. My image. My future. I didn't realize I was stealing a father from his children until it was too late. You were right to fight. You were right to hate me. I'll carry what I did for the rest of my life. But please tell Ava and Jordan, I'm sorry. Not because the court told me to say it, because it's true. Marcus folded the letter and placed it in the back of the open book journal. Not for Ava or Jordan to read. Not yet. But one day maybe. And when they asked, he'd tell them the truth. Not just about what happened, but what came after. Even if it hurt. 2 weeks later, Kira walked into Marcus's kitchen, her usual sharpness dulled by fatigue. He's been caught, she said flatly. Marcus set down his coffee. Greg. She nodded. Mexico. Border Patrol flagged him during a random check. Fake ID. Travel cash. USB drives taped under the car frame. Marcus's jaw clenched. Charges. Kira opened her briefcase and handed him a copy of the press release. 6 counts of child exploitation. 2 counts of digital surveillance. Federal obstruction. But here's the twist, she said. He flipped. Marcus frowned. On who? Kira gave a tired smile. Stephanie. Apparently, she knew more than she let on. He handed over email chains, voice memos, proof she saw photos, and ignored them. Marcus looked away, his stomach churning. She's going to face additional charges, Kira said. It won't change the custody, but it'll change the legacy. She won't just be the mother who failed to protect. She'll be the mother who helped cover it up. Marcus stayed quiet, then finally said, let the court handle it. I'm done fighting her. Kira nodded slowly. You're a better man than most. No, he said. I'm just finally tired of bleeding for people who wouldn't even flinch if I disappeared. It was the same park where it all started, where Marcus used to meet Ava and Jordan for his 1-hour supervised visits. But now, there were no clipboards, no eyes watching, just wind, sunlight, and a blanket spread across the grass. Jordan raced toward the jungle gym while Ava sat next to Marcus, a sketch pad in her lap. Remember when we had to sit over there? She asked, pointing to the cold, gray bench by the court-appointed monitor. I remember, Marcus said. You looked sad. I was. She kept sketching, then said, you don't look sad anymore. I'm not. A pause. Then Ava said something that wrapped around his ribs like sunlight. I think I feel safe again. Marcus didn't answer. He couldn't. He just looked at her, really looked, and nodded. They stayed at the park until the sun dipped low. No clocks. No pressure. Just a dad, his kids, and a world slowly coming back into color. It came out of nowhere. They were building a pillow fort in the living room. Just Marcus, Ava, and Jordan, laughter spilling like sunlight through an open window. The kind of day that felt like before. Then Jordan, holding up a couch cushion like a shield, paused. He looked up, eyes wide. Serious. Dad? Marcus froze mid-reach. Yeah, buddy. Why did Mom lie? Silence settled like dust. Ava looked over, suddenly quiet too. Marcus set the cushion down. He didn't want to dodge. Not this time. Not anymore. He knelt beside Jordan. That's a really important question. Jordan waited. Marcus took a breath. Sometimes, people are scared. And they do bad things to protect themselves, even if it hurts others. But we didn't do anything, Jordan said, voice small. I know, Marcus said. And that's what makes it unfair. Jordan looked at the floor. I used to think she didn't want us. That's why she got mean. Marcus's throat tightened. He gently turned Jordan's chin toward him. She loves you. She just forgot how to show it the right way. Jordan didn't answer. But he didn't pull away either. Then Ava whispered, Do you still love her? Marcus blinked. Not because he didn't know the answer, but because no one had asked him that out loud before. He looked between them. I don't love what she did, he said honestly. But I love the part of her that helped bring you into this world. That part gave me the 2 best people I've ever met. Ava smiled. Jordan leaned in. And for the first time, that question didn't feel like a wound. It felt like a step forward. Chapter 40. New photos on the wall. There were no family portraits left in Marcus's home. He'd taken them down in the early days, when everything was courtrooms and case files and broken trust. The walls had stayed bare, like a wound never allowed to scab. Until now. Marcus stood in the hallway with 3 new frames in hand. Ava had picked the photos herself. The first, Jordan, mid-jump in the park, arms out, eyes full of joy. The second, Ava asleep with a book open, the family cat curled up beside her. The third, all 3 of them, laughing on the living room floor, surrounded by board games and spilled popcorn. No filters. No posing. Just real. He measured carefully, hung them straight, stepped back. It wasn't just decoration. It was a declaration. The past didn't define their home anymore. This did. When the kids came home from school, Ava noticed first. She stopped mid-step, eyes wide. Jordan pointed. "That's the one where you beat us at Uno." Marcus grinned. "I have no memory of that." "You cheated," Ava said, laughing. "Probably." They stood there for a while, just staring. And even though the hallway was the same paint, same floor, everything felt different. Alive. Friday night. Warm breeze. School week behind them. Marcus pulled into the corner ice cream shop, the one they hadn't visited in nearly a year. The place hadn't changed. Neon signs still buzzed. That faint smell of burnt sugar and freezer air still lingered. They ordered 3 cones. Jordan went for rainbow sherbet, Ava for chocolate with marshmallows, Marcus stuck with classic vanilla. As they sat outside on the bench, Marcus looked at them both. "I've got a new rule," he said. Ava raised an eyebrow. "Another bedtime rule?" "Nope. Ice cream rule. Every Friday. No matter what. Rain or shine. Win or lose. Good day or bad." Jordan's eyes lit up. "Even if I forget to do my math homework?" "Especially then." They laughed. It wasn't about the ice cream. It was about a promise. A rhythm. A ritual that couldn't be taken, twisted, or ruled against in court. This was theirs. And they were going to protect it. Ava leaned her head on his shoulder. "You're actually getting good at this." Marcus chuckled. "Don't tell anyone. I've got a reputation." For a moment, there was no history. No pain. Just 3 people. 1 bench. 3 melting cones. And a promise that every Friday they'd choose joy. Marcus never planned to speak again. Not publicly. But the requests kept coming from advocacy groups, law schools, family rights panels. Kira called one morning. "There's a nonprofit group. They work with fathers who've been through what you did. They're asking if you'd speak." Quiet setting. No media. Marcus hesitated. Then thought of Jordan's question. Ava's trust. And that long stretch of nights he spent screaming silently into his pillow, wondering if anyone else had ever felt that lost. He said yes. The room was small. 20 people. Most of them men. All of them worn down, as carrying stories they hadn't said out loud yet. Marcus stood at the front. No notes. Just truth. "I'm not here because I fought harder than anyone else. I'm here because I stopped hiding. I stopped apologizing for loving my kids." He told them about the therapist that didn't exist. The pictures. The basement. The moment he snapped. "I thought losing custody meant I failed. But the real failure would have been giving up." He didn't cry. But others did. And when he sat down, a man in the back, quiet, gray-bearded, whispered, "You gave me hope." And that was enough. It came late on a quiet Wednesday night. Marcus had just tucked Jordan in, the nightlight casting soft rocket shadows across the walls. Ava was in the kitchen writing in the open book journal. His phone buzzed once. Blocked number. He almost ignored it. Then it buzzed again. Voicemail. Curious, he tapped play. Stephanie's voice was soft. "Hello. Hi. I know you probably won't listen to this. And that's fair. I wouldn't if I were you. But I'm in a facility now. Not court-mandated. Voluntary. And I'm not calling to ask for anything. Not forgiveness. Not pity." A long pause. "I just wanted you to know I watched the interview. And I finally saw it. Not the lawyer version of you. You. The man I erased. I don't know if there's redemption for what I did. But I wanted you to know. I hear the truth now. Loud and clear." Click. That was it. No tears. No manipulation. Just words. Marcus didn't call back. He deleted the voicemail. Then sat down beside Ava as she finished writing. "Want to read it together?" she asked. "Not tonight," he smiled. "You keep that one for yourself." They went again. Same bench. Same spot. Only this time, they brought chalk. Ava drew suns and spirals on the concrete. Jordan made superheroes with lopsided capes. Marcus sat with a thermos of coffee, legs stretched, peace in his spine. At one point, a little boy passed by on a scooter, chasing a bubble. His father followed close behind, calling out, "Careful, don't go too fast." Marcus watched them. Once, that kind of moment would have made his heart ache. Now, it made him smile. He wasn't on the outside anymore. He wasn't watching someone else's life through glass. This time, he was living it. Ava ran up to him. "Want to see my chalk galaxy?" "Absolutely." She grabbed his hand, pulling him forward, and Jordan shouted, "Mine's a rescue mission." Marcus knelt to see their drawings. Bright, wild, alive. Like them. He looked up at the sky, wide and blue. And for the first time in years, he didn't feel like it was falling. They had a new camera now. A real one, not a phone, not a backup. Ava had taken an interest in photography, and Marcus leaned into it, buying her a starter DSLR and printing every photo she loved. The hallway walls slowly filled. Not curated. Just moments. One showed Jordan asleep on the couch with a comic book open on his chest. Another caught Marcus mid-laugh, hair wet from a water balloon ambush. A third showed the three of them cooking dinner, flour everywhere, chaos in the background, joy in every pixel. The photos didn't hide the journey. They honored it. One evening, Jordan walked through the hall, stopping to study the newest edition. "Do we look happy in this one?" Marcus stepped beside him. "We don't just look happy." He looked at his son. "We are." Jordan smiled. And the wall smiled back. They didn't throw a party. There was no champagne. No grand finale. Just a quiet moment on a Sunday morning, Marcus sitting at the dining table with a letter in his hand. Case closed stamped across the top. No more hearings. No more lawyers. No more supervised anything. He looked across the table. Ava was reading. Jordan was building a Lego spaceship. He didn't say anything. Didn't need to. Because this moment, this piece, said everything. He walked to the porch, coffee mug in hand. Looked out at the street. The world was still chaotic. Still noisy. Still unfair. But here, in this little house, he'd reclaimed something priceless. His family. His dignity. His story. And most of all, his place. He didn't just survive. He stayed standing. Friday night, just like always. Marcus pulled into the familiar lot of the corner ice cream shop, headlights catching the faded, open sign that buzzed above the glass door. Ava and Jordan were in the back seat, half arguing, half laughing about what flavor counted as the weirdest one ever. "No," Ava insisted, "blue bubblegum doesn't even taste like gum. It tastes like laundry soap." Jordan shot back, "You don't even eat laundry soap. How would you know?" Marcus smiled quietly, a soft warmth pressing into his ribs. He parked. Inside, the shop felt frozen in time, and chipped counters, laminated menus, the smell of nostalgia and melted fudge. They ordered without hesitation. Jordan, rainbow sherbet, again. Ava, cookies and cream with gummy worms. And Marcus, classic vanilla. Always. As they sat at the picnic table outside, under the buzzing neon, Ava leaned forward. "Do we have to do this every Friday even when I'm in high school?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That a complaint?" "No," she smirked. "Just future planning." "Deal," he said. "Even when you're old and famous and only wear black." Jordan added, mouth full, "Even when I'm president." Marcus nodded. "President and pop star. I'll still be here. Same place. Same rule." They ate quietly after that, the kind of silence that lives only in peace. Then Ava, almost to herself, whispered, "This feels like something we'll remember forever." Marcus didn't respond right away. He just looked at them, truly looked, and said, "That's the point." The rule wasn't about ice cream. It was about showing up. Every week. No matter what. And he would, because they deserved a father who kept promises. Sunday morning brought a strange stillness. No alarms. No schedules. Just sunlight pouring through the windows and the sound of birds outside. Marcus was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes, Jordan snoring on the couch, Ava scribbling in her journal at the table. Then his phone lit up on the counter. One missed call. Blocked number. He stared at it for a second longer than usual. No voicemail this time. He didn't call back. Didn't wonder who it was. Didn't even care. Because for the first time in years, Marcus realized the only people he needed were already in this room. He turned back to the skillet. Flipped a pancake just in time. Ava looked up from her journal. Who was it? No one, he said, with a half smile. Just noise. She nodded and kept writing. Later, when the plates were cleared and Jordan was outside in socks chasing a butterfly, Ava handed him the journal. Want to read this week's page together? He opened it. It was a drawing of their house, with 3 stick figures out front. Him in the middle, one arm around each kid. And above them, in Ava's crooked handwriting, "We're home now. For real." Marcus ran his hand over the page slowly. No court order, no signature, no judge's gavel had ever meant more. He looked at his daughter. You sure are. And then, as if the universe wanted to prove it one last time, his phone buzzed again. Blocked. He turned it off, then tossed it gently into the drawer and closed it. It wasn't a courtroom. It was a school auditorium. Ava had signed up for the end-of-year student showcase, a 5-minute personal speech on anything meaningful. When Marcus asked what she planned to talk about, she just smiled and said, "You'll see." He sat in the 4th row with Jordan beside him, who fidgeted until he got his second juice box. Then Ava walked onto the stage. She looked small behind the mic, but her voice didn't shake. Most people talk about what they want to be when they grow up, but I want to talk about who I needed growing up. She paused. Sometimes, adults make mistakes. Big ones. And when they do, it makes kids feel like they have to choose sides. But what helped me, what saved me, was someone who never made me choose. Her eyes found Marcus in the crowd. My dad didn't just fight for us in court. He showed up when nobody else did. He listened when I couldn't find the words. He didn't try to fix me. He stood beside me until I felt strong enough to fix myself. There was no applause yet. Just quiet. A few teachers wiped tears from their eyes. Then Ava added, "You don't have to be perfect to protect someone. You just have to stay." When she stepped off the stage, the room erupted in applause. Marcus didn't stand. He couldn't move. He just sat there, eyes stinging, chest heavy. She had just said the one thing he never got to hear in court. She believed in him. And she wasn't just healed. She was rising. Late that night, Marcus sat in bed with the open book journal on his lap. One last page left. The kids were asleep. The house was silent. But his mind was full. He picked up the pen and began writing, slow, careful strokes. To Ava and Jordan, one day, you'll reread these pages. You'll see the parts where we were broken and the parts where we stitched life back together. You'll remember nights when we cried and mornings where we laughed so hard we forgot we ever hurt. But most of all, I want you to remember this. You were never a burden. Not for 1 second. You were the reason I got up when the world knocked me down. You were the light I followed out of the dark. And I would do it all over again. Every battle, every loss, every second, just to hear you call me Dad. He paused, then wrote the final line. We didn't just survive. We made it home. He closed the book. Outside, the wind rustled softly. The nightmares were behind them now. Tomorrow would be ordinary school runs, laundry, the sound of cereal crunching before the bus came. But that's what made it beautiful. Because ordinary meant safe. And safe meant everything. Before you go, ask yourself something. What would you be willing to fight for? Even if the world told you it was already lost. Tell me in the comments. Tell us, because this story isn't just Marcus's anymore. It's yours too. And if this hit you somewhere deep, not just the pain, but the fight, the love, the truth, then don't just scroll. Like this. Share it. Subscribe, not because it helps the channel, but because stories like this matter. And someone else out there? They need to know they're not alone. We see you. Now let's keep telling stories that fight back.